say, I'm doing this for the Lord so that his people have access to hear his message today, right? And even something, I'm gonna use your word, even something as quote unquote insignificant as setting up a table. If that table was not set up, then someone could not have sat there and not have received the meal or the gospel or the Bible study or whatever they
Preach.
came to get.
Preach.
So something as quote unquote insignificant as setting up a table might be the very thing that it takes for that person to hear the gospel that day. So you're not doing it out of obligation. You're doing it because whether I'm setting up a table or I'm sweeping the bathroom, whatever my role is at the church to help out with this event is for the greater good of the gospel. Once you have that in mind, then your motivation to serve or to love is on a totally different level.
Now, brother, you just stepped on my toes a lot, and I love it. But you also stepped on some sneakers, you stepped on some church shoes, you
Yeah.
stepped on some heels
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Right, right,
And I
right.
want to bring this deep question that you brought to the audience, to the members on Sunday. Why does leadership have to tug on heartstrings to get believers motivated to serve God?
Mm,
Is it that we possibly, as believers, care too much about what others might say when we're doing the things that we feel deemed need to get done? For example,
mm,
if I see a brother needing help with the organization of service, no one is there to do prayer. I say, hey, my brother Neil, can I please do prayer? You go up there and pray. Well, John, you did it last week. I don't mind, brother. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But when you do it this time, you tend to hear bickering. That brother always praying too long. He always got stuff to say. Why don't he sit down somewhere? Or even with sisters, y'all doing this stuff too much. Y'all always trying to do something for breast cancer month. Y'all always trying to set up tables for this, that, the other. Do we care about what other people think about us? And why do leadership always need to tug on our heartstrings?
yeah, that's a heavy question. First and foremost, yes, I think we do care. Maybe a bit too much, but we absolutely care what others think or feel about us because we're human. And that's just a natural emotion, right? A natural feeling. I want others to like me. That's just natural, right? And we hear people say, I don't care what people think about me. You do. Let's just be honest. You care, right? You might feel like that in the moment. You don't care what people think or say. You do care. And when you do things and you hear or see people bickering or laughing or joking about you, that can offend you. That can hurt you. Now that shouldn't stop you from serving or loving out of motivation, but it certainly does affect how you feel in that moment. So for those who like to take an active part, who are always there to volunteer to do things out of love, which is what this motivational level is about. If you're tuning in and that's your style, that fits your description, I say to you, don't stop just because people are laughing and joking, right? A lot of time when people pick on you, it's because they're dealing with their own insecurities. And they may have every desire to want to lead prayer, but they're afraid. And so they're waiting on someone else like you to step up. So keep worshiping, keep serving God, keep loving God. Now, the other question, why do leaders have to pull on heartstrings and almost kind of beg people to work? Again, it all comes down to which level of love you're exhibiting. Again, if you're doing something out of obligation, you're doing it almost because you're told to do it, you've been asked to do it, or you know that it's probably the right thing to do. But when you get to that motivational level, as you just mentioned, you're doing things because you see it needs to be done, you see the need for it. And so a lot of folks will not serve, not volunteer, not step up. Could be multiple reasons. Some of them are waiting to be asked. Some of them may be deathly afraid. But it all has to do with the level that they're residing on. So unfortunately, as a leader, I mentioned this on Sunday, if I ask you to pray, you're probably going to do it, right? Because you've been asked, you feel obligated. But if I say, hey, we're looking for someone to pray, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to volunteer because that motivation to serve may not be there. Or, like you just said, I might be too concerned that people are going to talk about me because I just prayed last week. And that's what I love to do. Maybe that's the gift God gave me, is to communicate with him via prayer. And now I don't want to exercise that gift that God gave me because I'm too afraid of what others are thinking. So you got to block them people out and don't let them people mess up your blessing.
Good teaching, brother. Good teaching as always.
Thank you.
John chapter 14, verse 9 states, whoever has seen me has seen the Father. As we finally reach the demonstration level of love, which is the highest one,
Mhm.
we are told to be Christ-like so that the world can see him in us. But if we can't be perfect like him, why even try demonstrating it in this world that we live in?
Again, another another tough question. I tell people all the time, perfection doesn't exist, right? We hear the phrase all the time, practice makes perfect. I've never believed in that. And here's why I don't believe in that. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes progress. And the more that you progress, the more perfect you appear to be to other people. So you should not be striving for perfection because you're going to let yourself down every time when you don't reach it. However, we still have a responsibility. We still should have every desire in our heart to be as close to Christ as we possibly can. Will you ever be perfect in that field? Never. Will you ever be Christ? Never, right? But here's what people don't realize. The word Christian is Christ-like, right? It's not Christ, it's Christ-like. So you're not supposed to be Christ, you're supposed to be like Christ, hence the word Christian. So when it comes to demonstration, right? The Bible says when you see me, you see my Father. That's how the world should see us. When they see us, they should see the Father, not the exact same image of the Father, but someone who is like the Father, Christian, Christ-like. And so we should still have every desire in our heart to strive to be like Christ, even though we will never be Christ. That's all a part of demonstrating the very nature of our Father.
I've never heard it being explained that way. And you are so right about practice makes perfect because we will never reach that goal. And I think when you are a non-believer and you're trying to learn more about how to become a Christian, that's the bar our mind is set at.
It is.
That you want me to be like Christ, but like I never will be, but yeah, I'm gonna keep striving each day to do better than I did on yesterday.
I think you hit it, man. And that's the unfortunate, sad commentary. So many people don't come to church or don't study the Bible or don't even attempt to live the life like Christ. Because like you just said, man, people feel like, well, I'm never going to be like God. I'm never going to be, as divine or as powerful or as good as God was. So what's the point of even trying? And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people say, there's no need to go to church. I'm never going to be perfect. But the reward is not in being perfect. The reward is in your journey to getting as close to perfection as possible. I'm a strong believer that God is not looking for perfect people. He's just looking for people that are trying to live right in the world full of wrong. So as long as you can manage that, I think you're all right with God. Now, I'm not here to judge you. That's not my role. But I think if you try your hardest every day, when you wake up to the day, when you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, if you try to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday, in my eyes, I think you're all right with God.
And we have to go back and look at his story, the Bible, because God uses broken people. All the people that we see and tend to think are role models of faith and see in the hall of faith, they were broken in some way, shape, or form. Either society deemed them as being broken, their personal struggles tend to seem as if they are broken, but yet the whole world is filled with broken people. And only God, through Christ, can use these broken people and make a masterpiece. Because we are all masterpieces in this world, and we tend to want to be so, like we said earlier, so liked and so loved by other people that we can't tend to say, hey, God, use me as I am. I'm not worried about what other people may say. Use me as I am.
Oh man, can I drop this off for you right here, man? Jacob, I gotta get this to you. Jacob was a cheater. Peter had a temper. David had an affair. Noah was a drunk. Jonah ran away from God. Paul was a murderer. Gideon was insecure. Miriam was a lady that gossiped all the time. Thomas was a doubter. Sarah was impatient. Elijah was moody. Moses had a stuttering issue. Zacchaeus was short. Remember that? Abraham was old. Lazarus was dead. And God still, I'm gonna use your words again. God still used imperfect people.
Yes, sir.
So he's not looking for perfection. He is looking for people that he can use to get his message out. So again, if you're tuning in and you're like, man, I'm not perfect, what's the point of even trying? I might have had a past with having an affair. I might have been a drunk. I might go to the club. I might be impatient. I might have this and that going on. Well, that's if you have all those issues going on, guess what? According to the history, you're the exact person that God is looking for. You fit the description of what God is looking for to get his word out. So if you already fit the description, you just got to show up to church for the details of your assignment.
John chapter 13, verse 35 reads in the ESV, by this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Break it down, brother.
If we love each other like we're supposed to, right? That's what the Bible is saying. If you love each other like we're supposed to, like Christ loved us, and like God loved us and gave his son for us. If we just have that love for each other, then everyone that we meet will know that we belong to God. In other words, it's a mirror effect. It's a reciprocal effect. If you and I love each other, then the world can see the love that we have for God in us. What I told him on Sunday was, if we get our love right on a horizontal level, then the world can see our love on a vertical level, right? But if you and it's the same thing. Think about your family, right? As an example, if I could tell you are a very loving man, you're a very loving person, I don't even have to meet your mom and dad. I know them some good folks. Like I know them some good people based on how well of a man you are. So when people see us and see how loving we are with each other, then there's no doubt that our relationship with our Father is the same thing.
When you use the horizontal and vertical, some people may be driving, some people may be home listening to this, but I want you to think of it as a cross. That's the best way to put it.
It
Or
is.
a T, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you look at it as a cross, we want you to realize and understand that that cross has a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
it has a meaning with it. And that meaning is that this life that you live is not your own.
Yeah.
You were created with a purpose. That purpose is to love God, to obey him, and do his will.
Yeah.
So many times in life, we want to know our purpose. I just gave it to you. Everybody's purpose is to love God and to do his will.
Yeah.
But yet, we also have a calling. Jesus Christ answered his calling by doing what his Father wanted. He wanted everyone to see how to love one another, how to be there for one another, how to be at a place in your life where you depend on the Father, where you depend on Christ. Christ is the Son of God, and he did a miraculous work by dying on the cross. You may ask how he was put on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Well, me and you did it by our
Mm-hmm.
sins,
Yeah.
by our actions, by our thoughts, by everything that was not in God's will. You see,
Mm-hmm.
when we sin, when we do things that are not according to his will, we cause things to happen, and Christ was put on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
But with that cross, with Jesus being on it, it gave us an opportunity. So I ask you, Brother Torian, give us the plan of salvation and what opportunity Jesus being on that cross did for us.
Wow. Well, Jesus being on the cross, I got to start there, man. Jesus being on the cross gave us access. And I love that word, because if you think about that word, granted access, What that means is you are privileged